In this video, we will explore a game-changing solution for centralized network management. Especially with recent price reduction of Azure Network Manager, it is worth taking a closer look and exploring all its quirks and features. In next videos of this series, I will explain and show how you can simplify your network infrastructure by implementing a hands-on scenario. Stay tuned. Before deploying Azure Virtual Network Manager, let's see what's the reason why we need such a comprehensive resource. Everything goes back to the limitation of VNets and subnets. Whenever you're deploying a VNet, you are completely limited to your subscription. On top of that, your region. You cannot go beyond that. The conventional workaround is peering. As you can see on the screen, when you start peering, even such a simple scenario with only one hub and 3 spokes, you need to deploy at least 3 peering. It is peering your spokes to your hub. On the top of that, you need to use routing table or user-defined routes to divert your traffic to your Azure firewall or MVA. You need NSG, you need to configure them one by one, and it is quite a chaotic situation. Here you can see completely straightforward scenario. There is only 3 spokes and 1 hub, but in a real world life scenario, you have different regions, and each regions consists of many subscriptions and VNets, so on and so forth. On the other hand, you can use Virtual Network Manager and simplify and manage everything from a single pane of glass without hovering around and switching from one subscription to another, one VNet to another. You can have a single pane of glass to deploy all your networking related policies, like blocking a port or allowing it, like creating a routing table and pointing and diverting all the traffic to your network appliance. In addition to that, Azure Virtual Network Manager brings you cross-region communication, cross-region connectivity, and also it is not limited even to tenants. You can easily delegate one of your tenants. For example, in a scenario that you are dealing with 5 or 6 customers and you want to manage it using just one tenant, you can delegate all those tenants to your main tenant which hosts your network manager. Let's see the scope. In terms of scope, you are not limited to just one management group. You can do everything. You can just assign your network manager to one of your tenants. For example, if you have different tenants like marketing or HR departments, you can just limit your network manager to them. Or if you like, you can delegate management group to the virtual network manager. If you want to be more granular and be more concise, you can only apply your virtual network manager to either all of your subscription that we are going to see in our demo or to one of your subscriptions. Let's talk about network group, because when we start configuring this virtual network manager, you can see the first step is configuring your network group. In the network group, you can team up and add all the virtual networks or subnets. Then it consists of subnets or virtual network. You can create Azure policies for dynamic VNet assignment. What I mean, you can just create a couple of lines. It's quite straightforward. You don't need to be a genius or a mastermind in terms of coding or Azure CLI or Bicep. You can easily create policies using tags to dynamically assign your virtual networks or VNets to this network grouping. It's really straightforward. Last but not least, you can just see all the members here in this network grouping. Let's talk about the dynamic environments. As I mentioned, you can create a policy to assign all VNets to your virtual network manager. Here I created a tag test, and whenever someone creates a virtual network with tag test, it's going to automatically assign to this network group that you already created. Then you can have a taste of automation here. Without bothering yourself and assigning VNets one by one, everything is going to be added in this Virtual Network Manager automatically. Let's talk about configuration. Configuration is another fantastic part here. You can create connectivity configuration and security admin rules and routing tables, user-defined rules, and apply them to not only one or two VNets, but also to as much VNet as you want. The next step is a mesh configuration. A mesh configuration, for those who don't have networking background, is whenever you connect all your VNets together. It's quite straightforward and handy to use because you can have communication between different VNets and subnets in different regions and even in different tenants. As you can see at the bottom of this screen, you have enable mesh connectivity across regions as an option. There is a checkbox that you can fill, and it paves the way for inter-region communication. You can easily, just by clicking one option, connect all your VNets and subnets all over the world in different tenants. Let's go to our hub and spoke. It is kind of easy to manage and regulate because you have hub. In addition to the conventional hub and spoking through a single pane of glass brought to you by this network manager, you have different options like direct connectivity. Even you can create a full mesh out of your hub and spoke by just filling this direct connectivity network group with network group, which is magnificent. That's fantastic because if you want, you can group some of your VNets, and in addition to hub and spoke, you can have either direct connectivity or global mesh. Of course, you can have both of them on one scenario. Let's talk about security configuration. Security configuration here consists of three major rules: allow, deny, and always allow. On the screen, you can see here everything initiates at the first part. What I mean is everything is going to be investigated and blocked or allowed from the initial part of your network. The initial part of network here can be either Azure public IP address on the edge or your network interface card. Then if you block one of your permissions, for example RDP port, everywhere in each and every VNets or subnets, irrespective of having Azure firewall or your custom MBA like Palo Alto or Checkpoint firewall, or even having different network security groups either under management of this network manager or not, you can block or allow them from a layer above all of them. Another perfect security tool that you have, which is quite a luxury because you don't receive it with conventional NSG, is supporting of numerous protocols. You can see on the screen, you can add ESP, which can be used for something like IPsec tunnel. It is not available on other Azure resources like Network Security Group. So you can see that in addition to a central point of configuration, you have other quirks and features. There are of course lots of other preview features like IPAM or IP address pools, which helps you to manage the assignment of IP address and categorize them based on your subscription, tenants, or region. You will have other troubleshooting resources like verifier workspace, reachability analysis, intents. Let's talk about our demo. Here, I try to take advantage of the full potential of this perfect resource by deploying two tenants and different subscription, two subscription in the first tenant and one subscription in the second tenant, several VNets to see how we can connect them. And the first thing that I'm going to do in this scenario is delegating the T2 to this network manager. Then I'm going to deploy Azure Virtual Network Manager in our first tenant and then delegate our second tenant totally to Azure Virtual Network Manager. Therefore, I can manage everything belongs to the second tenant, which is T2, by our Azure Virtual Network Manager. In addition to that, I can control all the subscription and VNets that you can see on the screen. In total, I have 2 VNets in each subscription. One of them is our production and another is our non-production. And each subscription is going to be deployed in an independent region. For example, our first subscription in T2, our second tenant, is going to be deployed in East US. On the other hand, the other subscriptions on the first tenant are going to be deployed in different regions in the Europe. So I'm going to start to test what happens if I want to reach, for example, from this Azure firewall using a DNAT to our VNet in the second tenant, and how I can introduce our Azure firewall as a central gateway or central network virtual appliance to all these VNets by just a couple of clicks through Azure Virtual Network Manager, and see how I can connect using Bastion to all these VNets. As you can see, it is a quite comprehensive scenario. Then for the demo, stay tuned and check this video.